So who are the key people in Idle More?
Well, it's organic. So there aren't any key besides those 4 women in Saskatchewan, the lawyers. But there is no ownership on Idle No More. It's just whoever wants to do what they want to do as it relates to getting the federal government to honor Indigenous peoples. Here in Vancouver, it was the Native Education college students that took the onus upon themselves to start organizing events, and they haven't stopped. I mean, there must be, I can't even count now, there must be at least 10, if not 20 events that have already happened. And from the looks of it, there's going to be a lot more there's going to be a lot more anyways. But depending on how Harper is going to work around these bills he's unilaterally pushing through, I mean, those bills are damaging, extremely damaging to the treaty relationship of our people, as well as the constitutional relationship we have with Canada. So I don't see Idle No More slowing down. I see it getting much bigger, especially as we get out there, and many others are getting out there to start informing Canadians that, we're in this together, and you need to get informed and get involved and hold our governments to account.
What would you like to see in terms of self-governance?
Oh, good question. Very good question. There's a Dr. Tayaki, he's a Mohawk. He's the dean of UVic Indigenous Studies Governance Program. I was just watching one of his videos last night. And he was talking about the evolution of the movement of Indigenous peoples in Canada, and all the 69 white paper, the Buffalo Jump, the Ganazaki.
I don't know.
These are all major movements of conflict between the state and Indigenous peoples, and about the state always trying to assimilate us as Indigenous peoples. And then the repatriation of the Constitution in 1982, where they implemented the Section 35 and 35.1, which talks about our rights as Indigenous peoples to be consulted and engaged to develop self-government. So that box, as Tayaki would say, was there. It's open, Section 35 of the Constitution. If you haven't read the Constitution, and I would suggest many of us haven't for some time, if ever read it, read it. But Section 35 and 35.1 are the key issues there. What does self-government, self-governance, or self-determination mean for Indigenous peoples? Now that's the struggle, and the treaty negotiations, the urban, the Métis, all this, it's a very complex issue. But
what does it mean for you?
Well, for me, it starts with self. It starts with me, right? That's where it starts, and it starts with my children, and it starts with my community, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It's about, number one, recognizing that I spend a lifetime, even to this moment that I sit here and talk to you, always checking myself, always checking for how I need to decolonize myself and be who I am, where I am as an Indigenous Coast Salish person. It's a hard exercise. But my non-Aboriginal friends should be doing the same thing. What does it mean as a non-Indigenous settler to decolonize my mind? Now that's something that's very personal, and you have to tackle it yourself. But so self-government for me starts with myself, and it's about recognizing the environment that I live in and trying to create meaningful choices and decisions that are going to not only help me, but help my family and help my community. So that's where it starts with me. But on the much bigger, broader issues, the legal issues between Canada, the First Nations, the urban, the Métis, I mean, it was 1982 when we got the Constitution repatriated, and here we are in 2013, and where are we? It's a gradual process. It's about transferring power. It's about transferring resources. It's about relearning our languages. It's our culture. It's about building partnerships. And so it's really a pragmatic process. And one of the criticisms that Tayaki had in the video I was watching last night, it's not just about a transformation of an institution from the colonial state to the Indigenous state. It's about bringing in the cultural aspects. Because now we've set ourselves up where, in the urban context, where we actually have Indigenous or Aboriginal organizations that are just the same as the state. And so we need to decolonize, and this is one of the things that Alive is saying, is we need to decolonize how both Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal service delivery is currently working. And that's that segregated and that silo model where groups don't talk to each other, but they compete with each other because for federal or provincial or municipal resources. And so it's really about building the decolonization process for me is really about taking away that isolation, that compartmentalization, that silos, the segregation, and it's about coming together on principles based on basic human rights that everyone should have an opportunity for equality of conditions, for equality of opportunities throughout all sectors of society. And that's the work that we do through Alive. And it ain't easy.
Now, you've done a lot of work with W2, and just recently W2 has been shut out of their space.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit about that and what's going on there?
Yeah, I would like to back that up a bit too before I go there.
Fine.
Because prior, I've been involved in the indigenous, particularly urban indigenous issues for quite some time. I used to be the president of the United Native Nations,
That's right.
which is a provincial Aboriginal organization representing off-reserve interest. And we moved our office into the downtown east side because we saw that place as ground zero for the ongoing colonialism. And we put it there because we wanted to make a statement to everybody that we are here and we're with our people right there in the downtown east side. And when back in, it was 10 and a half years ago now, about 20 of us met in our boardroom and we were discussing the Woodwards. We wanted to do an action around the Woodwards building. And so we decided, okay, well, let's organize a demonstration, an occupation of the Woodwards building. So between us, we built up our networks and we did the initial occupation. And our demands were very simple. Urban off-reserve self-government, we wanted housing, child care, all those different types of issues that everyone should have. And that took a life of its own. It got dominated by a whole bunch of other people, and that indigenous piece was lost. It's like we got all these non-Aboriginal activists that are taking ownership over this whole history, and but there's so many powerful downtown east side indigenous activists that were actually the main people that did that. So here we are 10 years later, and what do we have for all that hard work, for all those people that occupied that place, slept in the streets and did all that activism? Oh, it's W2 is what we had. W2 is a place that is the real legacy of that struggle for Indigenous peoples in the downtown east side. It's a place where on any given day you would have so many different Aboriginal organizations having their meetings in there. You'd have the artists, the hip-hop artists, the elders, people doing all kinds. It was great. But it wasn't just the Indigenous. You had the immigrant community in there and even the business community. It was a place of really mixing and building networks and partnerships. So for us, W2 was a place that is exactly what we think every community center should be. The schools should be like this. They should be engaging, they should be inclusive, and they should be a place that hires us, have us on their board of directors, and have programming. And that's exactly what W2 was doing. So what it was really doing was building community. And
so why was it shut down then?
Well, the city says, and this is what they say, and I'm very, I've been intimately involved with a lot of the information and process. The city says, well, W2 refused to pay this $90,000 amenity fee, or just about $90,000 amenity fee. So they've been in violation of their contract. They're in debt. Let's shut the doors down.
Right.
Essentially, is what they've done. And W2 has flagged with them that why are we paying an amenities fee when we are the amenity? We are the ones who are building community. You pay the community centers, you give them space, and you pay them. But here at W2, you're charging them to pay for what you should be paying them for.
Right.
So it's wrong. And I've worked with so many former city bureaucrats, existing bureaucrats, community organizations, and they all know that model was wrong. Why are you charging W2 $90,000 who are the amenity when you should be paying for it. And then at the same time, you're giving 10-year tax breaks to these large businesses in the downtown east side. So why are they shutting that down? I don't know. We are organizing we've got a big group of people that are really concerned around this. And
you recently had a protest outside the City Hall.
Well, there was the Idle No More protest there, but we had a press conference because what they did when they shut the doors down, without consulting the community at all to this day.
But explain that a little bit. What?
There's been no consultation at all. And we've even told the top level bureaucrats, listen, how can you negotiate with the W2 board or executive of the board who have have not given the authority to them to close it down? And the city people just sort of like, they didn't know what to say. So there hasn't been a board endorsement to shut W2 down or to negotiate with them what they have done. So there's something there. There's something bigger going on, and we don't know what it is yet, but we did have a press conference outside W2, the number of the indigenous groups that were kicked out, and we're doing a social media campaign, but we're organizing and developing our own business plan, and we'll be seeking meetings with top-level bureaucrats to try and get them to open those doors ASAP.
So are you hopeful to see W2 reopen, or?
Well, W2 isn't, for where we're coming from, it's not a space. W2 is the brand of W2 that's been operated. It's a sense of community. It's like for development. It's artists. It's all these things. So while the city has shut W2 out, we've actually taken W2 on the road, and so now we've been organizing with them several events with artists. We'll be doing a number of dialogues with ourselves and a number of other urban Aboriginal organizations on I don't know more and other issues. So even though the city's kicked us out, W2 is on the road now, and we're going to be organizing several events and having community forums about where we want to see that space go and what we want to do collectively.
If people want to get in touch with you, or?
Well, we have a website, aboriginalvoice.com, and we're also on Facebook, and we're easily accessible to get through to us on whatever issues.
Well, Scott, I'd like to thank you very much for joining me as my guest, and I want to thank you.
Okay, thanks, Don.
Yep, thanks.